Hello, friends. Thank you for clicking on today's story. What you are about to hear contains descriptions of extreme cruelty, cannibalism, and crimes against children. Please listen mindfully and take breaks if you need them. Novokuznetsk, Siberia, winter of 1996. A coal dust sky, the smell of rust, and a police blotter that keeps repeating the same line. Minor missing, no trace. Inside stairwell number 5 at Pioneersky Prospect 53, tenants complain about a metallic odor that creeps under their doors. The superintendent blames broken trash chutes. Nobody imagines that apartment 357 has become a private abattoir where, for 5 full years, at least 15, but perhaps more than 80 children, teens, and young women are tortured, butchered, and cooked. Our killer is Alexander Spesivtsev. The tabloids will call him the Novokuznetsk monster, the Siberian Ripper, and, most chilling of all, Mama's maniac. Because every time he drags a bleeding victim across the linoleum, his mother Lyudmila is there to pass the knives, scrub the walls, or boil what is left. Alexander is born on the 1st of March, 1970. At least, that is the date his mother writes when she finally registers him 2 years later. For 24 months, the boy exists only in the cramped apartment, unseen by doctors, untaxed by the Soviet state, already an invisible person. His father, Nikolai, is a mind driller who drinks, cheats, and beats the family. He walks out when the child turns 4. That leaves Lyudmila, possessive, cunning, fiercely protective. She installs a single, narrow bed and allows her son to sleep in it with her until he is 12. She forbids him to play outside alone. And when other children tease him, she storms the school like a private lawyer, threatening lawsuits for every slight. At 13, Alexander is already etching swastikas in the elevator and lighting doors on fire. He steals newspapers from mail slots, then bicycles, then soldering irons from the school workshop. Each time the police knock, Lyudmila appears with a legal code in one hand and a doctor's note in the other. The charges melt away. Evenings in the Spesivtsev home are macabre. Lyudmila now works as an aide to a blind defense attorney, and she brings home homicide case files, crime scene photos, autopsy slides, victim portraits. Mother and son spread them across the kitchen table, naming calibers, counting stab wounds, memorizing technique. What looks like parental bonding is, in reality, a masterclass in murder. 1988. The draft board orders Alexander's medical exam. Instead of boot camp, he is committed to psychiatric hospital number 1 with the diagnosis sadistic schizoid personality disorder. He assaults another patient with a metal cup, refuses medication, and escapes after 6 months. Nobody issues a warrant. The ward is already over capacity. He walks straight back to apartment 357, and nobody stops him. Fast forward to 1991. Alexander courts 17-year-old Yevgenia Guselnikova. When she tries to end the relationship, he drags her from her hospital bed, hides her in his apartment, and for 30 straight days slices, burns, and starves her. The autopsy will document 43 knife wounds and death by sepsis. In the jail infirmary, Alexander carves the letter E into his own forearm, E for Yevgenia, with a shard of brick. Declared insane once more, he is hospitalized, treated, and quietly released in 1994. He returns infected, the result of a homemade genital piercing he performed in the ward to enhance pleasure. The wound festers. He refuses follow-up care. Instead, he adopts a giant black Newfoundland named Boy, buys a crossbow, and begins walking a reptile through the courtyard. The neighbors nickname him the Lizard Man and decide it is safer not to ask questions. On a freezing February night, he meets 20-year-old Elena Trunova at the railway station and invites her home. After sex, she laughs at his infected piercing. 2 knife thrusts, 1 hour 47 minutes of dismemberment, and the experiment is over. Lyudmila appears with 2 40-liter paint buckets, stuffs the remains inside, and buries them near an abandoned trolley depot. 19 April 1996. 6 street kids accept cigarettes and the promise of easy money. Igor, Artyom, Sergei, Denise, and sisters Vika and Alina are lured upstairs. Alexander kills the boys first, then the girls, stacking the bodies like firewood in the hall and covering them with a shower curtain. 1 week later, Lyudmila tidies up, feeding pieces to the dog and hauling the rest out in bread sacks. 17 May. 4 schoolgirls, 2 sets of sisters, ring the bell to sell imported Palmolive, a luxury item in post-Soviet Siberia. Mother Lyudmila politely invites them inside to test the fragrance. All 4 are strangled with speaker wire. The bleach stench drifts into the hallway. Residents blame a dead cat. 3rd July. 70 bone fragments surface in the river Abba. 2 skulls, 12 femurs, each cut with both a surgical saw and a carpenter's bow saw. Newspapers panic. Maybe Chechen slave traders. Maybe organ traffickers. Airport security begins X-raying every medical cooler. But no leads point to apartment 357. 24 September. 3 teenage patients, Anastasia, Evgenia, and 15-year-old Olga, sneak out of the city clinic to buy batteries for a cassette player. At the corner shop, they meet a kindly older woman, Lyudmila, who asks them to help open a stuck door. The girls carry her parcels up to the 9th floor. The door closes behind them. Alexander injects chlorpromazine. Anastasia dies that very night. He forces her friends to remove the flesh from her bones with a hacksaw. Lyudmila boils a soup, serves it to the girls, and tosses leftovers to the dog. Olga and Evgenia remain chained for 30 unbearable days. Radio music drowns the screams. On the 22nd of October, municipal plumbers arrive to check a heating leak. Alexander stalls. They return the next night with Sergeant Tarasov batter the door and find the unimaginable. Olga, barely alive, shackled to a radiator, Evgenia dead and dismembered, and a dog chewing on a child's pelvis. Alexander leaps from the balcony, escapes down a fire ladder, but hunger drives him back 2 days later. Arrested at 2:15 a.m., he confesses to 19 killings, then boasts of hundreds, maybe thousands. His words, "The streets are full of trash, runaways and whores. I disinfect." He blames doctors for denying him treatment and flashes the scarred E on his arm like a medal. Lyudmila is arrested the same night after throwing stones at the prosecutor's window and screaming, "My son is an angel. The state failed him." Closed-door trial. Kemerovo Regional Court. October 1997. Because DNA analysis is too expensive, prosecutors can prove only 4 murders. Elena Trunova and the 3 hospital girls. Psychiatrists, 12 of them, label him paranoid, sadistic schizophrenic with necrophilic tendencies and order indefinite compulsory treatment at Special Hospital Number 1 in Kamyshin. Lyudmila receives 13 years for assisting 3 murders. she will serve every day, emerge in 2009, and immediately start petitioning for her son's release. Cell 3 meters by 4, a plexiglass window, constant video. Yeah, he crochets pot holders, 40 a year, writes poetry about demons, eats extra fruit for good behavior, and twice stages hunger strike, Santorirex, until nurses tube feed him back to weight. Review boards vote every 6 months. Permanently dangerous, no chance of discharge. June 2013. Lyudmila and her daughter return to the infamous building with a moving van. Neighbors recognize them and riot, smashing furniture, chanting, "Killers out." Police escort the women to a safe house. Their current address remains secret, but every few years, rumors spark fresh panic. The mother is back. The monster will be freed. January 2024. Russian investigators reopen the case with next-generation sequencing. 63 blood traces pulled from the apartment floorboards match 5 missing children. A man who escaped the apartment as a boy, silent for 26 years, finally gives a sworn statement. On 14th May 2024, a regional court reconvicts Alexander on 15 additional counts. The verdict changes nothing. He remains in the psychiatric fortress for life. Overcrowded hospitals, inattentive police, a mother who weaponized the legal code. Every safeguard failed. Neighbors smelled rot, but were too afraid to report the woman who would spit in their faces and cite procedure. A missing persons file was never updated because a clerk's office caught fire. One bureaucratic crack after another, and into those cracks children disappeared. No, there were not 82 Polaroids, only 6. No, there is no video of group cannibal feasts, just 22 seconds of Alexander posing with a knife. The truth is ghastly enough without embellishment, and the truth is this. In a Soviet concrete block, a mother helped her son murder at least 15 human beings, and nobody stopped them for half a decade. Evil does not always lurk on highways or forests. Sometimes it stands in the checkout line behind us, pays its utilities on time, and files complaints faster than police can read them. If the hallway smells wrong, if a child vanishes, if someone boasts about hurting the powerless, speak. One welfare check, one persistent phone call can keep the next apartment 357 from existing. Thank you for staying with me through this difficult story. Take care of yourselves, look out for one another, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.